I buried my little brother to pay for their lies. And on the day I finally walked across that stage in my cap and gown, they weren't there, not a text, not a flower, nothing. Instead, they waited until the ink was still drying on my diploma before hitting me up for the exact amount they'd stolen from me years ago. Like I owed them for the privilege of breathing. And when I told them to fuck off, my own father dialed 911 right in front of me, sobbing to the dispatcher that I'd threatened them, turning our blood into a crime scene faster than you can say family values. You ever wonder what it feels like to graduate from one of the best state universities in the Midwest, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, class of 2025, surrounded by thousands of screaming families, and realize yours isn't even in the parking lot? I clutched that rolled-up diploma like it was a grenade pin, scanning the sea of faces from the Jumbotron replay, hoping against hope that maybe they'd shown up late, traffic from Detroit, or some bullshit excuse. But no. The seats reserved under my name, empty as the promises they'd made my whole life. Jasmine Harper, summa cum laude in criminal justice, orphaned on her big day by the people who'd birthed me. It wasn't always this way. Or at least that's what I told myself through 4 years of ramen noodles and night shifts at the campus library. Growing up in a crumbling split level in Warren, Michigan, a Detroit suburb where the factories died before I was born, Mom and Dad were the picture of blue-collar grit. Dad, Frank Harper, was a laid-off auto worker turned handyman, always tinkering in the garage with oil-stained hands and stories about the glory days at Chrysler. Mom, Linda, waitress at the local diner, her laugh like gravel under tires, dishing out pie and small-town wisdom. And then there was Tommy, my little brother, 5 years younger, the golden boy with his freckles and endless questions about why the world was so damn unfair. We weren't rich, but we had each other. Or so I thought. Turns out, each other was just code for me carrying their weight. It started small, forging Dad's signature on school forms when he was too hungover, covering Mom's shifts when she called in sick after one too many gin and tonics. By high school, it escalated. Dad's side hustle wasn't fixing cars. It was boosting parts from junkyards and fencing them online. Mom knew. Of course, she balanced the books, or what passed for them in a shoebox under the bed. And when the heat came down junior year, a tip from a pissed-off buyer led the cops to our door. I was 16. They sat me down in the kitchen, fluorescent light buzzing like a swarm of regrets. And Dad's voice cracked as he said, "Jazz, baby, we need you to do something for the family." What they needed was a scapegoat. See, the feds were circling, wire fraud, identity theft from those stolen vents, and Dad had been sloppy. Emails, bank transfers, all traceable back to his ancient Dell in the basement. But if they pinned it on a troubled teen, some sob story about a girl acting out after her folks split, they faked a divorce for the narrative. Maybe the charges would stick light. Probation, community service, a slap on the wrist. I could have said no. Walked out, called a teacher. Hell, even the cops myself. But Tommy, Tommy with his big blue eyes and that gap-toothed grin, clung to my leg, whispering, "Don't let him take Daddy away." Jazzy. He was 11, too young to understand, but old enough to feel the fear. So I lied. Told the investigators I'd done it all, hacked the sites from the school library, funneled the cash into a secret PayPal for college clothes. They bought it. Juvenile court. Sealed records. 200 hours of service at a local shelter. Mom cried tears of relief. Dad bought me a new iPod. And Tommy drew me a picture of us all as superheroes. That secret? It festered like rust in the undercarriage. I graduated high school early, clawed my way into U of M on scholarships and loans, majoring in crim justice because if I was going to be the family criminal, at least I'd understand the system that screwed us. Summers, I worked construction with Dad, hauling lumber in the Michigan heat, listening to his tall tales about striking it rich one day. Mom sent care packages, jerky from the butcher, notes about Tommy's Little League home runs. They came up for Parents' Weekend once, all smiles and Polaroids, but skipped my 21st birthday. Money's tight, Mom texted. Love you, kiddo.
Tight. Right.
By senior year, I'd pieced it together from overheard calls and Dad's guilty glances. The money from the scam? It didn't vanish into vapor. They'd funneled it into a nest egg, $50,000 stashed in a safety deposit box, supposedly for Tommy's future and my tuition breaks. But tuition? I paid every dime.
And Tommy. Well,
that's where the real betrayal hit, like a freightliner. It was spring break, 2024. I drove home from Ann Arbor, windows down, blasting Springsteen because that's what you do on I-94 when you're almost free. The house looked the same, peeling white siding. The basketball hoop Tommy and I nailed up ourselves sagging from winters of neglect. But inside, it reeked of stale smoke and something sharper, like regret distilled. Mom was in the kitchen, chain-smoking Marlboros, her hands trembling as she poured coffee that neither of us drank. "Where's Tommy?" I asked, dropping my duffel by the door. She flinched, like I'd slapped her. "Out," she said.
Too quick.
"With friends." But Tommy didn't have friends anymore. Not since the accident. Or what they called an accident. Dad shuffled in from the garage, grease monkey as ever, wiping his hands on a rag that looked older than me. "Hey, slugger. Good drive?" I ignored the nickname. Eyes on Mom. "What happened? Why's the house empty?" They exchanged that look, the one that said volumes without a word. The one I'd seen 100 times growing up, right before the lies started flying. Dad sighed, heavy as a flat tire, and sat at the Formica table. "Jazz,
Sit down.
we gotta talk." What came next shattered whatever illusion I'd clung to. Tommy wasn't out with friends.
He was dead.
6 months dead. Overdose. Fentanyl-laced pills from a dealer Dad had crossed paths with during his hustle days. The kid, my baby brother, the one I'd shielded from their mess, had found the stash. Not theirs. Exactly. But close enough. Dad's old contact, a ghost from the scam era, had slipped Tommy a sample during one of those unsupervised afternoons when Mom was working late and Dad was at the shop. They hadn't told me. Not a call. Not a funeral invite. Buried him in a pauper's plot at MT.
Hope Cemetery.
Plot paid for with a GoFundMe that raised $800 from pitying neighbors. The secret they'd Jiao? It wasn't just the money. It was Tommy's death. The cover-up. The coroner ruled it accidental, but Whispers and Warren said otherwise. Tommy had been experimenting. Sure. But who'd supplied the poison? And why did Dad's truck show up on CCTV near the dealer's spot that night? "We couldn't burden you," Mom whispered, tears carving tracks through her foundation. "Exams. Your future. It would have broken you." Broken me? I laughed, a bark that echoed off the linoleum. "You think burying my brother alone didn't break me? You let him die in your goddamn negligence." And then you ghosted his grave like you ghosted everything else. Dad's face hardened. That scheming glint I'd only glimpsed in court files. Watch your mouth.
Girl.
We did what we had to. For the family.
Family.
The word tasted like battery acid. I stormed out, tires screeching as I peeled back to campus. The diploma ceremony looming like a cruel joke. Weeks blurred, finals. Packing. The walk across the stage under cherry blossoms that mocked my solitude. No parents in the stands. No cheers. Just me, alone with the weight of their sins. Then, the text came at 2 a.m. Post-graduation. Phone buzzing like a hornet in my shitty motel room off State Street. Mom. Jazz. We need to talk. Important. Come home tomorrow. Bring $2,100. It's for Tommy's headstone. We miscalculated the plot fees. $2,100. The exact skim they'd taken from my first scholarship check freshman year, for emergencies, Dad had said. The same amount I'd overheard them arguing over in wiretaps from the old case. The finder's fee for pinning it on me. A coincidence? Bullshit. I stared at the screen, heart pounding like a bass drum in a Motown riot. This wasn't a request. It was extortion, wrapped in grief they didn't deserve. And as dawn broke over the Huron River, I made my choice. Not to pay. To pay them back in blood, or whatever passed for it in a family like ours. Driving back to Warren felt like rolling toward a guillotine, the Michigan flatlands stretching out like an accusation under a sky bruised with thunderheads. I'd loaded my beat-up Honda Civic with everything I owned, textbooks on evidence law, a shoebox of Tommy's drawings, and a USB drive burning a hole in my laptop bag. That drive? Months of digging. Late nights in the university library's databases. Favors called in from a prof who'd taken pity on my personal project. Cross-referencing court records. Public ledgers. Even hacking into, fine. Ethically sourcing Dad's old email archives from a forgotten recovery key. The truth I'd unearthed wasn't just ugly, it was a goddamn abyss. Tommy's death wasn't negligence. It was murder by proxy. Dad hadn't just crossed paths with that dealer. Ricky Ghost Malone, a low-level scumbag running Fent out of a chop shop on 8 Mile.
No.
Frank Harper had gone back in. After my juvie stint cleared their slate, he'd restarted the game. But sloppier. Stolen parts for cash. Cash for pills to flip at truck stops. Tommy stumbled into it, overheard a drop, got curious, tailed Dad one night. Ghost didn't like loose ends. A warning dose. Laced heavy, left in Tommy's backpack like a Trojan horse. Dad found him foaming on the basement floor, blue-lipped and gone. But instead of calling 911, he cleaned it up, staged it as a solo OD, paid off the coroner with scam scraps, $5K under the table. Mom? She notarized the falsified tox report, her diner penmanship steady as ever.
And me?
The perfect cover. Their troubled daughter, already with a record, could have been spun as the family junkie if questions arose. But they didn't plan on me going straight edge, burying myself in books to escape the stain.
Now.
With that USB screenshots, timestamps, even a blurry dashcam clip from a witness van, they were exposed. All I had to do was hit send to the DA's tip line. But revenge isn't about justice. Not in America, where the system's a slot machine rigged for the house. It's about making them feel the knife twist slow. I pulled into the driveway at dusk, the house looming like a bad memory, porch light flickering from a bulb Tommy used to change. Mom answered the door, her face a mask of forced warmth, apron dusted with flour like she baked to forget.
Jazz.
Come in.
Honey.
Dinner's almost ready, meatloaf. Your favorite. I brushed past her, the smell of onions and denial choking me. Dad was at the table, nursing a bud, eyes flicking to my empty hands. No envelope. No check. Just me and the fire in my gut. Where's the money? He grunted. Not even a hug. Straight to it. Classic Frank. I dropped into a chair, the wood creaking like bones. Funny you mention that. Turns out, I did the math. $2,100 for my scholarship. Plus interest, 8 years at 5%. Compounded. That's $3,247. Plus Tommy's funeral you cheaped out on. Call it $5,000 even. Mom's fork clattered. What are you? Shut up. Linda, Dad snapped. Then to me, you think you can waltz in here after ignoring us for months? Demanding audits? We raised you. Put food on. Raised me? I laughed, pulling out my phone, thumb hovering over the screen. You used me. Framed your own kid to save your asses. And Tommy? You let Ghost kill him to protect your pipeline. I've got proof. Emails. Transfers. The works. The room went tomb silent, save for the fridge humming like a distant siren. Dad's face drained, then flushed beet red, that mu glint sharpening to a blade. You bluffing.
Girl.
Even if you ain't. What's it get you? Ruin us. And you're dragging your name through the mud again. Family sticks together. Family? I spat. You buried my brother without me. Ghosted my graduation like I was yesterday's trash. And now this shakedown? For a headstone you couldn't be bothered to engrave right. Mom whimpered, reaching across the table. Please.
Jazz.
We were desperate.
The debts.
After Tommy. The medical bills. Lies. I cut her off. No bills. You cremated him cheap. Scattered ashes in the backyard like dog shit. I checked the records. Dad lunged then. Not violent yet, but grabbing my wrist. His grip vice-tight from years wrenching engines. Listen here. You send that shit. You kill us. Prison for life. Your mother, heart condition. Can't do time. And me? I'd rot. Sure. But not before I tell the world what a ungrateful bitch you are. The girl who pinned her own crimes on her folks. It was his flip, the first of many that night. From pleading patriarch to cornered rat. Hissing threats wrapped in paternal guilt. Controversial? Hell yes. Part of me, the part still chained to that 11-year-old Tommy, wavered. Was I the villain here? Unearthing graves for a pound of flesh? Mom sobbed. Think of the neighbors. Jasmine. What they'll say. I yanked free, standing tall. Fuck the neighbors. And fuck you both. I hit record on my phone, voice steady as a prosecutor's closing. This is Jasmine Harper. Formally stating that Frank and Linda Harper coerced me into a false confession in 2017, leading to my juvenile record. They also covered up the homicide of my brother, Thomas Harper, in 2023. Evidence to follow. Dad's eyes bulged. You little, but I was already out the door. Engine roaring to life. Not to the cops.
Not yet.
To the first stop on my list, Ghost Malone's Chop Shop. A rusting warehouse off Van Dyke where 8 miles shadows swallowed secrets whole. Detroit at night is a beast, neon veins pulsing through abandoned lots. The rivers stink mixing with exhaust. I parked a block away, hood up against the drizzle, heart jackhammering. Revenge Phase 1. Cut the head off the snake that bit Tommy. Ghost wasn't hard to find. Word on the street corners said he ran nights. A ghost indeed. Pale and twitchy from his own product. I slipped in through a side door. The air thick with solvent and solder. Cars in various states of disassembly like surgical patients on slabs. Voices echoed, ghost barking orders at a couple of strung-out mechanics. I waited, pulse sinking to the distant wail of a patrol car, then stepped into the pool of sodium light. Malone, I called, voice cutting the din like a gavel. He spun, a wiry ferret of a man in a wife-beater stained yellow, tats creeping up his neck like kudzu. Who the fuck? Jasmine Harper. Tommy's sister. The name dropped like a live wire. His eyes narrowed, calculating. Tommy? Kid OD'd.
What?
You're back? Tragic shit. Next, you supplied it. Dads connect. And you dosed him heavy 'cause he saw too much. A mechanic shifted. Uneasy. But Ghost laughed, a wet, hacking sound. Prove it. College girl. This ain't no courtroom. I held up the phone, playing a snippet, the dashcam audio. Tommy's voice faint. Dad. What's that guy giving you? Ghost's face flickered. The flip, from dismissive to desperate. All right.
All right.
What you want? Money? I got none. Info. I lied. What I wanted was his fear. The crack in his armor to mirror theirs. All my folks. What they traded for your silence. He sneered, but the seed was planted. As I backed out, rain slicking my face, I felt the tension coil tighter. This wasn't clean. Ghost could retaliate, drag Dad back in, turn it into a blood feud. Was I avenging Tommy, or just perpetuating the cycle? The drive home blurred, doubts gnawing like rats in the walls. Back in Warren, my phone exploded, voicemails from Mom. Hysterical, texts from Dad. Alternating threats and pleas. Come home. We can fix this. Fix it? Like they fixed Tommy's grave with a Walmart plaque? By midnight, I was at MT. Hope. Flashlight beam dancing over the plot. A sad patch of sod marked Thomas Harper. Beloved son. 2012 to 2023. Beloved.
Right.
I knelt, mud soaking my jeans, and whispered the apology I'd bottled for months. I should have been there.
Kid.
Should have seen it. A rustle in the bushes, Dad. Stumbling out, bottle in hand, eyes wild.
Jazz.
Thank God. Don't do this. The evidence, burn it. For Tommy. His flip again, from accuser to beggar, dropping to his knees beside me. Rain mixed with his tears. Or maybe just booze. We fucked up. Bad. But you're a girl. Always will be. I wanted to believe him. That American dream flicker. Redemption arc. Family reunion under the fluorescence. But as lightning cracked, illuminating the hypocrisy etched in his face, I saw the schemer clear. He'd called Ghost already. I knew it. Trading my name for protection. Flipping the script to paint me the aggressor. Too late, I said.
Standing.
Cops get the file tomorrow. Unless you confess. Both of you. He grabbed my ankle. Mud-slick desperation. They'll kill me in there. Your mother. Let her go down with you. That's justice. We argued under the storm, voices rising like thunder, him bartering secrets, Mom's affairs, his other scams. Me countering with facts, the $2,100 as blood money for Ghost's payoff. It was raw, ugly, the kind of confrontation that split souls. By the time I peeled away, soaked and shaking, I didn't know if I'd saved us or damned us all. But the real storm was brewing. Mom's next call. At 3 a.m., he's gone.
Jazz.
Your father. He left a note. Said he's turning himself in. For you. For Tommy.
Lies.
Or the first real crack. My hands trembled on the wheel. The road to Ann Arbor a ribbon of indecision. Revenge was a highway with no exits, and I was flooring it blind. Dawn hit like a hangover. Gray light filtering through my motel curtains as I scrolled the news on my phone. Nothing yet. No blotter mention of a confession in Warren. Dad's suicide note ploy? Classic Frank. The ultimate flip. Fane's sacrifice to guilt me into silence. Mom's voicemail confirmed it. Her words slurred with pills or panic. He didn't mean it. Baby.
Come home.
We need you.
Need me.
To what? Bury another body? I didn't go back. Instead, I drove to the Wayne County DA's office in downtown Detroit, the Renson Towers mocking me with their glass sheen while my Civic sputtered in the lot. The tip line was anonymous. But I went in person, Jasmine Harper, the girl with the sealed record, demanding a meeting. The assistant DA, a no-nonsense Latina named Reyes with a stare like a lie detector, took my USB, her eyebrows climbing as she skimmed the files. This is dynamite, she said, leaning back in her swivel chair, coffee steam curling like question marks. Harper fraud from 17? We closed that as juvenile resolved. But this Malone angle, the kid's death? If it ties to ongoing distribution. It does, I pressed, voice steady despite the quake in my chest. My father's prints on the baggies. Mom's signature on the falsified report. They framed me once to skate. Don't let them do it again. Reyes eyed me, that prosecutorial poker face cracking just enough to show pity. And you? Willing to reopen your case? Testify. The question hung. Controversial as hell. Reopening meant dragging my juvie stain into the light, scholarship revocations, job blacklists in crim law. But for Tommy? Yes. She nodded, filing it under priority. As I left, the city buzzed, commuters in suits, homeless shuffling under overpasses, a microcosm of the mess I'd unleashed. Was I hero or homewrecker? The line blurred with every step. Back at the motel, reality bit harder. A knock, pounding, frantic.
Mom.
Disheveled in a raincoat too thin for the chill. Eyes swollen like overripe peaches. Jazz.
Please.
Let me in. Against my better judgment. I did. She collapsed on the bed, babbling, Your father's not confessing. He's with Ghost. They met last night, trading you for a deal. Said you'd back off if they pin the supply on you. Said you're unstable. Off your meds. The flip sliced deep.
Dad.
Scheming with a monster who'd killed his son? To sacrifice me, again? Rage boiled. But so did doubt. Mom's story shifted mid-sentence. No. Wait. He's protecting us. Ghost threatened the house. I grabbed her shoulders.
Shaking.
Which is it? Mom? Hero or coward? Tears streamed. Both. We're both. But Tommy. He forgave us. In his last note, he said, "Note." My blood froze. What note? She fumbled in her purse, pulling a crumpled paper yellowed with handling. Tommy scrawl, "Don't fight. Love you all. Even if secrets hurt." Dated the day he died. Forged or real? A boy's plea drowned in fentanyl fog? The ambiguity gutted me. Was their grief genuine, twisted by survival, or just another layer of the con? I pocketed the note, mind racing. Get out. Before I add obstruction to the list. She left sobbing, but not before dropping the bomb. The $2,100? It was for Ghost's silence. After the tip you sent. He's coming for you now. Panic clawed. I bolted the door, barricading with the dresser. Phone in hand dialing Reyes, no answer. Voicemail purgatory. Hours ticked by, tension coiling like a spring in a 72 Plymouth. By evening, a text from an unknown. Walk away.
Jazzy.
Or the whole family's the fall guy. Dad's old nickname. Ghost's reach. I couldn't stay put. Drove to the chop shop under cover of twilight. The warehouse a hulking shadow against the polluted skyline.
Inside.
Chaos, cops swarming. Lights flashing blue-red like a migraine. Reyes had moved fast. Ghost in cuffs. Spitting curses, mechanics scattering like roaches. And Dad, propped against a dismantled Impala. Wrists zip-tied. Face a roadmap of bruises. Jazz, he croaked as I pushed through the tape line. Uniform parting for the tipster. You did this. Relief warred with revulsion.
Had to.
For Tommy. He laughed.
Bitter.
Tommy'd hate you for it. Kid wanted peace. Not this circus. The flip again blaming me, the Avenger, for the mess he'd made. Cops hauled him up, reading rights like a dirge. Mom arrived then, sirens wailing her arrival, collapsing into a uniform's arms. Our eyes met across the frenzy, hers pleading, mine steel. No words. Just the weight of choices that split us irreparably. Interrogation came next at the precinct, sterile as a morgue, coffee tasting like regret. I spilled it all, the frame job, the cover-up, the $2,100 shakedown. Reyes watched, nodding, but her questions probed deeper. And the note? Forgery? I handed it over. Test it. But if it's real, does that change anything? She shrugged. The system's indifference a slap. Intent matters. But juries love a redemption twist. Outside, media vultures circled, local news vans, reporters shouting family betrayal like it was clickbait gospel. I slipped away. Hood up. The controversy exploding online. Harper scandal trending. Armchair lawyers debating if I was whistleblower or witch hunter. Comments tore me. Daughter destroys parents, karma versus. Finally, justice for the little guy. Exhaustion hit like a truck on the drive back to Ann Arbor. My apartment, sublet to a roommate for summer, felt alien. Boxes half-packed for a job offer in Chicago. Junior analyst at a firm. Ironic given my baggage. But sleep evaded. Ghosts whispering. What if Dad's right? What if exposing them buries Tommy's memory deeper? Midnight brought the call, Reyes. We got a problem. Your father's talking. Says you coerced the tip. Planted evidence. Mom's backing him, says you threatened suicide if they didn't pay up. The ultimate flip. From victims to victors. Painting me the monster. My hands shook. Dialing my own lawyer, a public defender buddy from clinic days.
Fight it, he said. But it'll drag.
Months. Careers tanked. The climax loomed. Not a shootout, but a courtroom bloodbath. Me versus
Them.
truth versus the ties that bind. And as thunder rumbled again, I realized the revenge I'd craved wasn't catharsis. It was a mirror, reflecting my own capacity for destruction. Was I saving justice or just settling scores? The line dissolved, leaving only the storm. Court dates blurred into a fever dream. The Macomb County Courthouse in Mount Clemens, a coliseum of polished wood and whispered judgments. Preliminary hearing. Dad in orange. Shackled but sharp. Spinning yarns of my dissent, post-grad stress. Fabricated grudges. Even a planted USB from my hacking phase.
Mom.
Free on bond. Testified teary-eyed. Jasmine always resented us. After Tommy, she snapped. Demanded money. Threatened to ruin us if we didn't pay. The gallery murmured. Neighbors from Warren. Gawking like it was a true crime pod. I sat stone-faced. Reyes coaching me through cross. Mrs. Harper. The $2,100 transfer from your joint account to Jasmine's. Then vanished. Explain. Mom faltered. Fingers twisting her necklace, a cheap gold chain Tommy made in shop class. It was a gift. For her new start. Liar. I muttered under breath. But the judge banged gavel. Warning. Dad's lawyer. A slick ambulance chaser from the burbs. Paraded character witnesses. The diner owner swearing Mom was a saint. A old union buddy vouching Dad's reformed heart. My side?
Thin.
The USB held. Forensics confirming authenticity. But Tommy's note? Lab said inconclusive, ink fresh. But paper aged. Plausible deniability. Their ace. A German hit like whiplash. Bail denied for Dad on flight risk. Ghost's crew had vanished. Whispers of retaliation. Mom cornered me in the hall. Makeup running. Voice a hiss. See what you've done? He's breaking in there. For what? Your pride. Pride. I shoved past, but her hand caught my arm. Desperate. Clawing. The note was real.
Jazz.
Tommy knew. About the scams. The lies. He protected us too. Deleted files from your dad's computer that night. That's why Ghost targeted him. To silence the kid who knew too much. The revelation landed like a gut punch. Tommy, my little shadow.
Complicit?
Covering for them. Erasing evidence that could have saved him? It reframed everything, his forgive plea not innocence. But a boy's final bid for family unity. I wrenched free. Storming to my car. Sobs choking as rain lashed the windshield. Was the revenge mine to take? Or had I betrayed Tommy's ghost? Weeks ground on motions. Depositions. The press feast growing. Detroit Free Press headlines, daughter's revenge or parental peril? Online. It polarized. Team Jasmine. Hold abusers accountable. Versus. Team Harper's. Blood is thicker. She's toxic. I fielded death threats. Job offer rescinded, pending litigation. Even a GoFundMe for Mom's defense that outpaced mine tenfold. America. Loving its underdogs, until the underdog bites back. Climax crested at the plea hearing. Courtroom packed. Air thick as a summer squall. Dad shuffled in.
Gaunt.
That scheming spark dimmed to embers. Mom beside him. Clutching rosary beads she'd never used before. Reyes opened strong. The evidence is irrefutable. Fraud. Manslaughter cover-up. The defendant's daughter. Victim turned whistleblower. seeks only truth. Then Dad's turn. He stood, chains rattling like Jacob Marley's ghost, and in a voice raw as gravel, said, "Your Honor, I confess. All of it. The scams. Framing Jasmine. Covering Tommy's death." Gasps rippled. Mom whimpered, but he plowed on. But it wasn't just us. Jasmine. She knew. Helped bury the files after Tommy. For family. Lies. Truth. The room spun. Reyes objected. Hearsay. But the judge allowed. Eyes narrowing at me. Dad continued. Flips cascading. She took the juvie fall willingly. Loved us that much. And the tip? Blackmail. After we asked for help with debts, Tommy's headstone, she flipped. Threatened exposure unless we paid triple. Mom nodded. Breaking. It's true. Our girl's hurting. Needs help. Not handcuffs. The twist gutted me. If they were lying, it was masterful, turning my revenge into their martyrdom. If true, God. If Tommy and I had both shielded them, what did that make us? Accomplices in our own undoing? The judge recessed, but the damage stuck. Jury pool tainted. Case delayed for mistrial motions. Outside. Reporters swarmed. Did she orchestrate it all? I fled to MT. Hope. Collapsing at Tommy's plot. Weeds choking the marker. What did you do? Kid? Why'd you cover for them? Wind whispered no answers. Just the rustle of leaves like unanswered texts. Reyes called that night. They're offering a deal. Manslaughter reduced to reckless endangerment. Fraud to misdemeanor. 5 years probation each. Drop the perjury on you. Sealed forever. Take it, I said. Voice hollow. Controversial? The word didn't cover it. Letting them skate felt like betrayal. To Tommy. To the girl I'd been. But fighting meant dragging his name through more mud. Airing every family skeleton for public sport. Nobody won. Sides blurred into gray. Plea entered a month later, quiet. No cameras. Dad hugged me awkward in the lobby, whispering, "Proud of you, slugger, for stopping us." Mom sobbed, "Forgive." I nodded, but inside, the scar pulsed. We drove to the cemetery together. First time as family, scattering fresh flowers over the sod. Words failed, too much ash in the air. Epilogue hit in Chicago. 6 months on. New job at a nonprofit. Victim advocacy. Ironic poetry. The Harpers? Community service. AA meetings. A fresh start in Florida on probation's leash. Texts trickle, birthdays. Miss you, but I rarely reply. The $2,100? Wired back anonymously. A final fuck you wrapped in closure. Was it happy? Tragic? You tell me. I avenged Tommy. Or maybe just prolonged the pain. Dad's scheming saved his skin. Mom's flips kept the facade. Me? I'm the ghost now, haunting the spaces between right and wrong. In America, revenge isn't a straight road. It's a loop, spitting you back where you started. Diploma in hand. Seats forever empty. But sometimes, in quiet moments by Lake Michigan, I hear Tommy's laugh on the wind. Don't fight, he says. And for once, I don't.